Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we are looking at a very special and very hard to find multi-tool right now. This is the Victorinox SwissTool Spirit XMBS AA in black oxide. Now they also had a stainless version of this, but it sold out incredibly quickly. So I had to pick up the black oxide version, which is beautiful in its own right. So this is pretty new to the market. And I had a longtime subscriber who helped me to track this one down. I actually had to purchase this one out of Singapore. So this is not something that is that you just find everywhere right now. It is hard to come by at the moment. Hopefully, Victorinox is going to be expanding this, and we'll be seeing more of these multi-tools hit the market where they'll be more readily available. But nonetheless, I'll leave the link that he sent me below. So if you're interested in picking one up, hopefully you still can. So we're going to bring in some other SwissTool Spirit models, and we're going to do a little contrast to compare and show you what is new with this multi-tool. Let's get into it. So we brought in the Spirit X on the right, and we have the Spirit XMBS on the left. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that have changed. Now, the location of all the interior tools for all these seem to be exactly the same. So the only difference is the four outer tools. Now what they've done is, in place of where the file was, they have installed the one-handed accessible blade. And on where the regular blade was on the Spirit X, they've replaced that with a one-handed seatbelt cutter. The scissors are in the same location, and then they have changed the saw blade out for the file instead of the saw blade. I would love to see future models of this where they would put a one-handed accessible blade on the Spirit X as well. I'd actually like to see the blade and the file position swap though for a right-handed opening for myself. I know there are, left-handed people who are not going to agree with that, but the fact remains that the majority of the world is right-handed. So there's apart from that, obviously the key difference in this two is one's in stainless and one's in black oxide, but that notwithstanding, the four outer tools and the positions are what have changed in this multi-tool. Another difference between these two is going to be their sheath carry options. This is the pretty standard, the Victorinox leather version for the SwissTool Spirit X. This is actually a pretty nice case. The only problem I have with this case is I wish it was button clasp or magnetic as opposed to the Velcro. And on the new one, it is also Velcro on the back, unfortunately. But this is actually can be carried in a couple different ways. So this is a belt carry. You can also take this apart, put it on a pack, put it on a molly pack. So that's kind of nice. They have a little lanyard down here for your pull, and you have a full Velcro patch here, and then your tool slips right inside. So it's actually a pretty nice case that comes with that as well. Now I will say that it is a little tough to dig out that multi-tool, so I wish they would have left maybe if they had left a little bit of cutout here on the side where you could open or retract it in a pinching motion, might have been a little bit better. So I might end up doing something like that. I might end up making a little bit of a cutout here, make those a little deeper so you could just pinch the tool out to get it out of that case. But there is another key difference between the two. I just wanted to take note here that there are no changes to the pliers themselves, so everything operates exactly the same in that regard. The only difference is going to be in those tabs that are for the one-handed accessible blades. So we brought in the SwissTool Spirit XC now, and what they've done is they've changed the file location to where the saw blade used to be, eliminated the saw blade, then they've added in the one-handed accessible blade in place of the file, and they switched the wavy blade out for their serrated seatbelt cutter. Now, a lot of people are not necessarily going to like this model because of the tool configuration. I really think they would do well if they did this same thing with the Spirit X, which is obviously the most popular of the SwissTool Spirit models, where they added the one-handed accessible blade but left the file, saw, and scissors. I think that would be highly, highly popular. Hopefully, once this takes hold and once it starts being more well-known, that a lot of people are going to clamor for that, and hopefully we'll see Victorinox add to their line a little bit. Now, for those that are interested, if you're seeing about carrying this knife in the regular case, so this is the case of my XC Plus, And for those that like to carry the extra Victorinox tools, these cases are very nice for that. Well, this multi-tool will still fit in here. What happens is the tabs sit at the top of the case though, so it's a little tight to get in there. You can see that the Velcro doesn't quite latch up correctly. If you turn it around the other way, where you're setting the tabs to the back, it seems to have just that little extra where it gets a little bit more closed. And you can see that the multi-tool sits across the top of the flap for the case. Now, if we take this one out and we put the XC in here, and we just kind of set it in the same position where that was before, you can see how much difference there is. That XC sits about probably 1/4 inch lower, somewhere in that nature. Now, the one tool that I really like, well, I about dropped it there, from the SwissTool line is the actual original SwissTool. So I'm hoping that at some point they add in this blade to this tool, because, oh, that's the wrong one. I would love to see this version without the scissors to have these blades as one-hand accessible. Of course, I would like them on the other side so they're right-handed. But now that they've done this, I am so hoping that they add it to the SwissTool line, because then this would not, you know, it's kind of one or the other. Well, a lot of people, either they lean towards Victorinox or they lean towards Leatherman. For me personally, I like them both. And this would make the SwissTool line compete a little bit better with the Surge, in my opinion, and that's my multi-tool of choice. Now, would it be enough to make me switch over? Well, that's hard to say, because the pliers might be the issue then. I don't like necessarily the extra notches that they put in their pliers. I think if they refine that a little bit, then yeah, we'd be talking, I might be looking at switching out the Surge for the SwissTool. I don't know yet. That might be sacrilege, because I've done a lot of work to my Surge, so only time will tell. First of all, they got to get this one-handed blade in there before that's even an option. Now, I guess what the real question is how well do these one-handed blades work? Well, let's give them a try. So it's not the easiest blade to open, but it definitely does come open with not much effort. So it's a little tough. You know what? It's not that bad. I guess I had to get accustomed to it the first time. So let me try it left-handed with the other one. And you can see it just doesn't quite have the smoothness. There's a little bit of a catch right there. So when it hits that catch, I kind of, at times, I want to slip off. But for the most part, it is fairly smooth. So I love the fact that Victorinox has finally introduced a one-handed opening blade. Now, what I will say is they stick out a little bit from the body. So when you are operating the other tools on the other side, a little bit of a hot spot because of those. But it's something I'm willing to overlook in this one, because I have long wanted a one-handed accessible blade in the Spirit models. And I just wish that they would do this, especially the more popular version of these tools is going to be the Spirit X. If they added a one-handed blade to the Spirit X, there's, you know, the Wave Plus gets points, in my opinion, over the Spirit X, simply for the fact that the blades are one-handed and accessible. And if Victorinox were to level that playing field a little bit, because the honest truth is that the Spirit X model actually has a bit more capability than the Wave as a whole. Now, it's not apples to apples, but for the majority of stuff, it has a lot more functionality than the Wave. But where the Wave has always had it put in check is the fact that the Wave has one-handed outside accessible blades. Now, if you take away that advantage from the Wave, now a lot more people are going to be a lot more interested in a Victorinox SwissTool as opposed to the Leatherman Wave Plus, and for good reason, because they have excellent rust resistance because of their high chromium content blades and implements. They're much better when it comes to rust resistance. They have a variety of different tools, and frankly speaking, it's just more elegant. They're just a nicer multi-tool to handle. In fact, some people say that they'd rather keep their Victorinox multi-tools on the shelf to look at and to look pretty, and they use their Leathermans for work. So I can understand that, because in some regards I feel the same way. But this is really a game changer. I hope that they include these in future versions of the SwissTools and the SwissTool Spirits. I think if they incorporated, if they took the models that they have already and added one-handed accessible blades to what they have out there already, then that would be a good starting point. And I would love to see Victorinox expand their line. I've always wanted Victorinox to make a smaller multi-tool that was scissor based, much like you get with the Leatherman Micra, because I think that with the way Victorinox makes scissors, boy, I think they can make a really special multi-tool if they just decided to do it. My name is Ben. You've been watching an overview of the all-new Victorinox SwissTool Spirit XMBS. It's really a game changer. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.